What if you could overcome every ounce of self-doubt and step into the most confident, most amazing, most successful version of you? What if every single goal you ever wanted to achieve, you knew was yours because you had the ability to raise your level of confidence and self-esteem to the point where you became the person worthy of that goal? You can. Today, we are talking with one of the premier confidence experts in the world, Trish Blackwell. And I'm so excited for you to be your most confident version yet. Let's rock. Welcome to the Good Mood Revolution. I'm your host, Matt O'Neill, and I've spent the last 15 years mastering the art of lasting happiness. Look, happiness isn't just a feeling. It is a skill, and it's a skill that you can learn and master. This show is your training ground. Let your Good Mood Revolution begin now. Today, we have such a treat. Trish Blackwell is a top confidence coach and CEO of the College of Confidence. With over 7 million podcast downloads, where she helps high achievers and Olympic athletes and CEOs become more confident, overcome self-doubt, and reach their full potential. And today, Trish is going to empower us to build unshakable confidence and to create lasting change. Trish, welcome to Good Mood Revolution.
Matt, thank you. I love the podcasting space, and I love collaborating and having conversations with anybody who is as passionate about happiness and just conscious, intentional living as I am. So I'm excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
I just love confidence. You know, I could only pick 8 good moods to talk about in my book. And confidence was one of the 8 positive emotions that I wanted to teach about how to live a consciously happy life. And it's because I think that without feeling confident in ourselves, it's really hard to be happy. Yeah. But I want to ask the confidence expert, what is your definition of confidence?
Cool. You know, it's funny. My definition changes all the time. And if I want to give you the one that's on my heart today, it's the belief that your best can get better. It's the certainty that you are just getting started and that you have limitless potential. It's the assuredness in yourself, the security in yourself, security in yourself that you are meant to show up in the world the way that you are, and that you do not need to be anything other than who you are, your quirks, your personalities, your preferences, your passions, and all that. There's a unique need for you in the world, and that you have full permission to be 100% that. There's no pretending, no needing to fit in, honestly, needing to prove yourself. Like, there's no pressure and no need to prove yourself, because you know that you have so much in you, and it's a joy and an exploration to go figure out, how do I pursue that fullest potential? And I like to think about confidence and courage are like besties that hang out. And so as you level up your confidence, your courage comes, because the confidence is first the belief that you are capable. And the courage is what takes that and goes, let's go do it. Right? And so they hang, and they when you activate one, you're activating and inviting and strengthening the other. And what is so extraordinary is that if you have confidence, then you'll have courage. And if you have those two things together, you can go pursue your fullest calling in your life, or anything you can conceptualize with your mind.
It's so beautiful. Yeah. I love your definition of confidence.
Thank you.
So how is it that people that are making such an enormous impact in the world, you know, you coach some of the greatest of the greats. How is it that even somebody like that's making such a huge difference can lose their confidence?
You can't lose your confidence. Confidence is a daily choice. And I think a lot of people, we colloquially speaking, we say, I lost my confidence. I don't know where it is anymore. I don't have it today. It is a muscle that we strengthen and that we activate and that we can feel. And, you know, for those of us who like working out, it's no different than your awareness of your confidence is in correlation to your intentionality and the way you're training it. My awareness of my biceps all day yesterday was higher than before because I've been intentional about training my biceps. It is no different than a daily choice to say, I'm feeling doubt. I'm feeling like the effort I'm making is not mattering. I want to normalize that. I think you can be the most confident leader, individual, but you're going to always have two voices in your head. And those are what are vying for our attention. And so we want to increase our awareness to say, what is happening in my brain today? What are the thoughts that I'm thinking? Because confidence is a feeling, but our feeling comes from our thoughts. So if we want to change the feeling, first we change the thoughts. And so we have to go, are there any thoughts that don't belong? And that's where once we identify the thought that doesn't belong, meaning what I do doesn't matter, I'm not doing enough, I'm not as good as so-and-so, I'll never get there. There's a lot of those, they seem like innocent, like we don't even call them negative thoughts because we're like, I just feel down today. You're like, no, if we really looked at it, we're feeling sorry for ourselves. They are self-pity, self-doubting thoughts, and we all have them. But the confident person, the intentionally confident person, the one who's choosing to cultivate and create confidence every day has the courage to look at those thoughts and go, come on, I'm going to call myself up to a higher level than that. And it's no different than, and it's not that we can always reframe or eradicate those thoughts. Sometimes you can escort the thought out, metaphorically, but then sometimes you just have to turn the volume down. No different than if you're a parent and you have kids, and I have two young kids. And so I sometimes will be working here in my office and they're on the TV over there. And sometimes that National Geographic show they're watching gets turned up. I'm like, turn it down, guys. And I can turn it down and I can still focus and still hear it and still be just fine. Because it's the volume that's louder, which is what I'm working on, where my attention is, that's going to win the war in my emotions. And so I think sometimes when we go, I should be more confident, I shouldn't have any self-doubt or any negativity. I don't think that's true. I think depending on what season you're going through, depending upon all of these so many different factors in your life, there's going to be some self-doubt. There's going to be discouragement. There's going to be, it's the confident person. Their job is to be aware of it and to either reframe those, clean them up, or turn the volume down.
So I love this idea of turning down the volume. And this is one of the things that I believe is that self-doubt doesn't ever go away. And this fear that maybe we're not good enough doesn't ever go away, but we can get louder than it. Totally. And that I can use my intention to say, hey, my confident thoughts are going to be louder. And I'm going to trump these thoughts that say, maybe I'm not good enough today, or maybe I can't get better than my past. Maybe my past is just so great that I'm never going to eclipse it. Or, another thing is a lot of times people just have a lot of self-doubt. What do you say if they're like, okay, Trish, I get it. I'm supposed to turn down the volume. How do I turn down that volume?
Yeah. We do it by, it's okay to have a lot of self-doubt. What that just means we're in a deficit and we need to overcompensate and rebuild the positive affirming voices and the belief. And how do you do that? Repetition, getting yourself around, putting good things into your mind, intentional journaling. I'm a huge proponent of journaling and writing affirmations and being really, really aware of what am I thinking? And we have to ask ourselves this question. Is this, because every thought is either helping you or hurting you. I like that analogy for your thoughts. Every thought you think, even as innocent as it seems, it is taking you to a destination. And this is where we have power. You have to ask yourself, do I like the destination it's taking me? And so we look in it and get curious about every thought and go, does this thought take me where I want to go? Does it take me to believe, or does this reiterate, yeah, you're probably not good enough. Yeah, your effort probably is not going to matter. I think one of the most destructive thoughts we can think is, what's the point? Because really we're thinking, no matter what I do, my best won't be good enough, which is why if we go back to my original definition of confidence, it's the belief that your best can always get better. And I also piggyback that belief with the idea that I really truly believe there's no such thing as wasted effort. And
tell me more. Why is there no such thing as wasted effort?
There is no such thing, because I think that's the biggest fear. That's why so many people go all in and then they're like, but what if it doesn't work out? Or my time in the fitness industry, so many people wanted to lose weight and they want to go all in, but they're like, but I've tried every diet and it's a lot of work. And what if I don't get the result? Okay, agreed. If that's the attitude, if we go, no matter what I'm learning, no matter what I do, in the same thing about my money, in my investments has a compound effect. My efforts have a compound effect that will always pay a dividend on the return on my return. So my effort always pays off. I love that as an affirmation or a power phrase. My effort always pays off. There's no such thing as wasted effort. And what that does is it takes the pressure off you to perform in a certain way. It takes the pressure for it to be a perfect decision and says, no matter the decision, the effort I'm going to put in here is worth it because there's something that I need to learn in this process. And that's going to help me become more confident. And that's going to help me become more confident because sometimes confidence comes from our thoughts, but then also your competencies, right? Kids that are confident athletes, they get confident because they won some things. Right? You scored some goals. You got some victories. And the more of those you get, once you start winning, it's easier to keep winning. Right? So we've got to prove to ourselves that we can, one, we want to increase our core proficiencies and competencies, but then the pursuit of that excellence is going to include failure, is going to include setbacks, is going to include things that don't work, but the effort is all required to help us get to the victory.
The wait is finally over. The Good Mood Revolution book is officially available for pre-order on Amazon today. You can go to Amazon and look for Good Mood Revolution book. And in this book, you're going to find the 8 bad moods that get in the way of your happiness. You're going to learn strategies on how to overcome each of these 8 negative thoughts. They're all lies anyway. And then what the thought patterns are that make us happy every single day. You're also going to learn strategies that can make you really feel fulfilled in your life and make other people around you feel fulfilled as well. So go on Amazon, look for Good Mood Revolution book, and order yours today. So cool. Yeah, I'm going to log that one and never forget it. There's no such thing as wasted effort. I haven't heard somebody say that before, but I totally agree with the way you've explained it. So I want to go back to some of the things you said about how to strengthen our confidence. And you had mentioned repetition.
Yeah.
And in repetition, we become what we repeatedly say. Totally. We attract to us what we repeatedly say. We become what we repeatedly do. So I have the 2 habits that you were describing, and I can't live without them.
Totally.
A journal is the first thing I do every morning. And it's because I want to identify what thoughts are not serving me. Totally. And sometimes during the day, I actually can't identify them. Mm-hmm. And so just today, I was working on a presentation. I've got 80 people that work in my company, and I'm giving a Q4 company address, the state of the company address tomorrow.
Nice.
And I'm like, this is a very important meeting, and it's very important that I get the presentation right. And then I get confirmation that my right-hand person can't come because she just had an accident and has broken her wrist. And she has to have it looked at, and the hand specialist is only available right here. And I'm like, okay, all right. Hey, you know what? She's always there for me. I'm going to pick up, so I'm going to do her parts. And then I'm like creating a page to celebrate somebody, and I'm reaching out to them. I'm like, hey, so excited about the presentation tomorrow. And they're like, oh, actually I can't come. And then I get this other message of somebody else that I'm like, was really excited about, like talking about. And they said, oh yeah, this thing has come up and I can't come. And these thoughts were compounding, but I didn't recognize them. It's easy for us to see now as I'm playing it back. But in the moment, I wasn't recognizing that these unconfident thoughts were starting to build. And then my wife comes in and says, hey, I'm on the phone with the credit card company, and your card has been compromised. And it's the second time in 2 weeks your card's been compromised. And it was total negativity. And I, now looking back, of course, tomorrow in my journal, I can figure this out. But now looking back, I'm like, okay, I was losing confidence by, hey, I have this big important thing. And I started to feel like it wasn't going to be as powerful as I thought. So affirmations, I do affirmations. I don't say them out loud. For me, it's written affirmations. And so I'm writing what I want and what my future looks like in a positive, and I do it every morning. Yeah. And it's just, it's a routine and a rhythm I've found has worked really well for me. But for our listener, somebody that maybe is unfamiliar with affirmations, how do you coach somebody that says, hey, this doesn't feel right. I feel kind of weird doing this. Yeah. I feel like Stuart Smalley from Saturday Night Live. Yeah. Well, how do you coach that person?
Yeah, I love that. I would say, look, you can change the word affirmation if you don't want it to be that. Or if you've ever had a great coach, the affirmation is that coach on the sideline or the teacher you had that was like, you can do anything. Are you kidding? Absolutely. So I think an affirmation is you giving to yourself what you actually need without having that coach or mentor right there.
Being your own coach, being your own super positive coach. Yeah. And I experienced the power of this. I had imposter syndrome. And I was in my 20s. Yeah. And I was leading the same company I was just talking with you about. And I had people working with me that were twice my age. And they were coming to me to lead them and to coach them. And they'd had big careers and bigger than mine. And I'm like, I don't think I'm the leader for these guys. And so that was a thought, and it was a disempowering thought. Totally. And the affirmation that I started to say to myself, the power phrase was, I'm a strong, confident leader. Yeah. And I said that phrase in a rhythm, and I said it over and over, and I said it out loud. I said it every day on my drive into work. And it was probably 3 months. I'm just going to lock this in. What happened at the end of those 3 months is that it never came back. That idea that I wasn't a strong or confident leader never came back. It became just part of me. It's like the affirmation became part of the cells of my body. And I just knew anywhere I stepped in, I was going to be a strong, confident leader. So I'm sharing that story for the person that says affirmations are silly. Yep. I think weak limiting thoughts are silly.
Amen. They're optional. And I did my first sales consultation. I got like 1 hour of training. I knew it was truly trial by fire. Knew no idea what I was doing and how to sell somebody $10,000 of personal training. And I sold the first like 3 people that sat down with me in a row. And my boss came up to me, who was like a giant in the industry. And he was like, we're going to just call you Goldmine Trish. I went, what? I go, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know why they bought. He said, baby, everything you touch turns to gold. And from that day on, every time I drove to that gym, I went, my name is Gold. I changed every password in my everything. And I started calling myself Goldmine Trish. I have the Midas touch. I quote and quotes every day said, everything I touch turns to gold. Everybody who I sit down to work with, they buy. And it worked. It worked. I broke every sales record in that company. It was a massive franchise. I got trained and paid to teach nationally about sales. And serendipitously, that's actually what got me into sales, is what got me into confidence. Because I was like, why do people buy? It's just the presentation of it. It's the confidence. I'm selling a feeling. I'm not even selling anything. I'm selling a service, but really belief in an industry where everybody's tried everything already. Why would they try this? Because I had to be so confident that the process would work. So it's kind of fun, but like the same concept, if you say something over and over and over enough, it will become true. Your belief is simply a thought that you've repeated enough. So I also like the phrase, one of my reminders to myself, a power phrase is, I'm willing to do boring things more than other people are. And that gets me when I'm like pushing back and going, I don't want to. I'm like, Trish, you've decided that you're more willing than other people. Just do it. And then I don't have to think about it. I just do it.
That was something Kobe Bryant had said.
Oh, totally.
He said, I'm just willing to take the same shot that I've taken thousands of times, more times now than anyone else is willing to do it.
100%.
And the dude put up 81 points in a single game. And they're like, oh yeah, Kobe's going to shoot the ball. Why don't you just, and they put every single person on him. And yet he had done the same boring shot, the same turnaround shot, thousands and thousands of times. It's like 1,000 makes a day. That was his ritual. He would get to the gym at 4 a.m., do a workout, then have practice with his team, then do another workout. Are you looking to take your happiness to another level? If you're looking to be more successful, we need to be happier, because success and happiness go hand in hand. But sometimes we get stuck in thought patterns we don't even know are holding us back. And we need a coach or a mentor to see things we can't see with our own eyes. I've had coaches and mentors help me access levels of happiness I couldn't have achieved without them. I'm now offering that same service to a small, select number of people. If you think one-on-one coaching could elevate your happiness, go to mattoneil.com and click the coaching tab to learn more. I look forward to talking with you. So how can we bring this back to our listener? And the thing is that it was boring for me to say every day the same phrase. Totally. That I'm a strong, confident leader. I'm sure that Goldmine Trish and everything you touch.
Feel real chintzy sometimes. I was like, okay.
Sometimes it's like, oh man, I don't even know if I need to say this affirmation and yet And yet doing that boring thing is what I knew I needed to lock in the confidence that I needed to achieve what I wanted to achieve. And then look at what happened to you. Breaking all the sales records is not boring.
Yeah. Not boring to pay my parents back. Not boring to buy a house before anybody my age was buying a house. Not boring to buy my car full out cash. Like a lot of things that were not boring resulted from doing boring things.
All right. Well, that's such a cool ritual. And so we've talked about the ritual of affirmations and how to create one and then how to do it. And it's just repeating it. For me, I was repeating it on the way to the office. For you, it sounds like you were also repeating it on your way into work. And then we talked about the journal. If someone's new to journaling, how do you recommend they start a journal practice to help grow their confidence and have the life that they truly deserve? Because everyone can have the life they want.
Totally. I think we have to make it accessible. I think people glamorize journaling and think that they need a half hour or an hour. Now, if you have that, great. But you're a real person with a real life, and probably that's not ideal unless it's a Sunday, right? And so I actually have a 5-minute journaling method that I recommend people start with, which really what it does, and sometimes you might be journaling for 15 minutes, but if you tell yourself 5 minutes, you can talk back to that when you're like, oh, I don't have time to journal. I think you go, if I always have time to journal, first needs to be the power statement. I always have time to improve my life. And to sit down, and I have 4 steps for the journal process that I like, which keeps it simple, because I think often people go, well, what do I say? Right.
Right. If it's just a blank page.
Okay. So, and I actually have a lot of journaling programs that I can help people get started with. And I can give you a link for one of those, but, I write 5 gratitudes to start. And then I ask myself, what's my negative thought? Essentially, I write 5 gratitudes and then I write a question, negative thought, ? And I scan my brain to go, what thought does not serve me? What thought doesn't belong? You scan your brain for it. And then I call it the reframe. So negative thought, the reframe to it, and then an affirmation. And I like to write a new affirmation. I do have a couple core ones that I repeat, like we were talking about Goldmine Trish. But I like a daily one based on, as if it's the bow to tie up, what was the negative in my mind? So I'm so far behind, there's too much to do today. It might have been the negative thought. The reframe is, I have my tasks in order. I'm going to take massive action today, and I'm more than capable of getting what needs to be done. And then the affirmation might be, I'm really good at hyper focusing, or maybe today I show up with hyper focus and power in everything I do.
I fully believe that the universe bends to our intention.
Yeah.
Most of the time, though, without this practice, and it was that I really like your journal practice. I want to repeat it for everyone, just from my understanding, just to help it sink it in. But most of the time, our intention is unconscious.
Yeah.
And it's being driven by that negative thought that we didn't find. And so the intention of the negative thought could be, just using your example, I have too much to do today and I don't have time to get it done. And that thought's there. Yeah. And then our intention is trying to get everything done that we can't get done. And we go throughout our day knowing we can't get done what we need to get done. And then it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. We're
losing all day.
We lose all day. And even if we get 100 things done, we still don't feel good about it.
I like to feel like I'm winning.
Yes, me too. I love to win. So the 5-minute journal practice from Trish, just try it. Try it tomorrow.
Yeah.
Write down 5 things you're grateful for. And then ask yourself a question. What negative thought is there? Mm-hmm. And if you're thinking, well, I don't want to conjure up a negative thought that doesn't exist. Trish, I'm sure there's days you ask yourself negative thought and you're like, man, there's really not one.
Yeah. On those days, I go, is there a disengaged thought?
Disengaged.
Yeah. Because there's always something. There's always something to clean up.
And so we find the disengaged or negative thought and then reframe it. And all the reframe means is that we write it in the way we want to feel. So if it's, I'm feeling tired or I didn't get enough sleep, we can say, I have all the energy I need today, or I have all the energy I need to accomplish everything I want to do and more. Yeah. And then we create an affirmation. And the affirmation is going to be locking in exactly who we want to be and what the intention we have for the day. I think it's awesome. And I hope every single person listening gives this a shot tomorrow.
Yeah, give it a shot. Give it a shot.
And, I want to go to your younger self. Mm-hmm. You now are this confidence powerhouse. Mm-hmm. You weren't always this way. If you could go back to your younger self and give that girl some advice, what would you say to her?
Yeah. So my younger self was this way until I was early 20s. And what I would tell that version, the one who misplaced her confidence, right? We don't lose our confidence, who misplaced it. I would tell her everything we said. There's no such thing as wasted effort. You're not behind. Your best can get better. This is your best now. So let's investigate why it's not good enough and let's make it better. And all the struggle now is part of the process that you need to become even better. There's no such thing as nothing is wasted. And your willingness and your drive to keep going is your excellence. And I think for me also freeing and saying, you don't need to prove, there's nothing to prove here. So that desire to prove myself to others really kept me in that loop of like, being over aware where my competition was or what my coaches thought of me or my teammates or right. So it was that pressure of outside perception. And really what we want to go is what you think of yourself is what matters the most.
Those are hard. That's a hard thing to balance.
Oh, it's so hard.
Because we want to do well, especially so you want this attitude of dominance. Like I'm going to dominate the competition. And yet you want to not worry about the competition.
Yeah. Very, very challenging. Yeah.
So how do we perform wanting to dominate and also not worrying about it?
I think we perform wanting to dominate by going, what is the highest performance I can achieve? And if we care about competition, because we do, what are they doing? How can I be 10 times better? And not make it about them, but go look at what's the gap between them and where I really want to be. And for me, and like with swimming, like I would know where I was in the water, and I know what a difference is of like you're neck and neck with somebody or you're like a body length ahead. I like the body length ahead, right? Mm-hmm. I used to know what that felt like, and then I lost that. Or in running, I do a lot of triathletes in running, same kind of concept. So if I want that much gap between me and my competition, what do I need to be willing to do more than they are? So now it's not about them. Now it's back on what are my habits? What are my levels of excellence? And that just means like, and I train a lot of athletes. I work with a lot of athletes. And I tell them, if you're the athlete that's willing to work your thoughts as hard as you're willing to work your body, you will always be the person who wins.
Wow.
Because think about that. The difference of why somebody in track and field or in swimming, if we're really looking at a time sport or like downhill skiing, like the 1/100th of a second, the person who outtouches the other, that has nothing to do with physical ability. That is all what you think at that point.
I was watching a golf major and I can't remember which one it was. And Rory McIlroy was in the lead and he hadn't won a major in 10 years, but he'd been in the top 5 more than anyone without winning. And right near the end of the championship, he was 2 strokes ahead with like 4 holes to go, which is like a body length ahead.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you could see the guy that was chasing him was ready to dominate. Just his body language, the way that he was hitting the ball, like his focus, just everything about his being looked like I'm here to dominate, to be the best version of me. And then you could watch Rory, who had gotten to this point, and all he had to do was just par, right? This is just not mess up. All he had to do was not mess up. And so his thoughts went into don't mess up. And he ended up missing 2 putts within 4 feet. And he lost. He hadn't missed a putt within 4 feet in 72 holes, the entire match.
Well, that is the perfect example.
And it was his thoughts. It wasn't how many putts he'd taken on the putting green. It wasn't how many hours he'd practiced. Maybe he'd practiced more hours than everybody on the putting green. It turned into he hadn't trained his thoughts as well as the guy that was coming up. Totally. And if his thoughts had been coached by Trish, and being like, I'm going to dominate. I'm going to give, I'm locked. I'm dialed. Everything I touch goes in. Like these are just thoughts that he could have had. But that self-doubt thought comes in of what if I lose it? What if I fail in front of everybody? What if all of a sudden I can't hit a 4-foot putt and he froze and he choked. And I felt bad for him, but it is an example of how we have to train our thoughts just as much as our body, or in case of business.
Journaling, and we do it with journaling and our affirmations.
And so in business, I know you coach a lot of CEOs.
Yeah.
Our listener here wants to get the promotion They want to, earn now more than they've ever earned. Maybe they have a financial number. They say, hey, if I had that number, I would know I had made it. How do we shift this from athletics into how do I achieve this financial success or that career success that I've always wanted?
Yeah. I think we get very specific. So an athlete knows they want this title, they want this win, they want this time, they want this achievement, this victory. You have to decide, professionally speaking, what is the victory for you? What's the big victory? And then what's the next step? And not just, I want to make more money, I want to get promoted. That's like saying, I want to be faster. I want to know, like, if you work for Amazon, do you want to go from L5 to L7? Do you want to take your company that you own and go take it from a $100 million company to a $500 million company? Or do you want to take it, like, are you doubling or are you 5Xing? And getting very, very specific about what you want, and then asking yourself, who do I need to be the person that achieves that? And then go ask for what you want, ask for the feedback you need, ask very directly to anybody in your career path. Hey, here's where I am. Here's where I want to be. What advice do you have for me? It's the courage and the confidence to ask a simple question. Most of the things that we want are available to us. People are unwilling to ask. Why? Because they don't want to look dumb. They don't want somebody to think that they're too pushy, that they're too proactive, that they're, maybe they're too ahead of themselves, which is all confidence. So to have the confidence to ask for feedback, to ask for mentorship, or ask for a direct path is the first step.
We need to get very specific about the goal.
Totally.
And once we're very specific about the goal,
then you know what to do.
We may not exactly know what to do, but if we I love the thought of being obsessed about a goal.
Yes.
Where the goal is so important to me that I can't stop thinking about it when I'm getting ready for work, when I'm at home, when I'm trying to go to bed, that this goal means so much to me that it literally is on my mind all the time. And when a goal becomes like that for me, then all the different ways to act boldly, to show up and get it, show up.
Totally.
But in the moment when I set the goal, I don't know all the hows, but they always come when the why is strong enough. So if someone wants to increase that why, like let's say they want to earn another 100,000 more than they are. So let's say somebody's making 75 and they say, I want to have 175,000 income, and they get very specific. And how can they increase that intensity and that obsession to make that goal really important to them?
You have to tap into that future self, that version of you has that much extra money. And so don't just imagine the 175K. You go, how would I spend that? Do the math and break down, what would my take home every 2 weeks be, or weekly or monthly, however you're paid? How am I going to spend? You have to spend the money before you have it, so to speak. You have to imagine yourself with that. You have to see, what's my current net worth and what will my net worth be after a year at that new salary? And why does it matter? How will I allocate those new funds? What will I spend the money on? Where will I keep my standards? Where will I elevate them? Right? We have to see ourselves being that future self for it to be compelling.
It's powerful. Well, Trish, this has been so awesome. I've learned a lot from you. Your energy is like, man, I could run through a freaking wall today because Trish just coached me. If people want to learn more and plug into more confidence, how can they get into your world?
Yeah. Well, easiest way, by the way, if you like podcasts, you're listening to a podcast, come check out the Confidence Podcast. But you can find me on Instagram. I'm Trish_Blackwell. I hang out at trishblackwell.com. If you want to check out the College of Confidence, it's my membership where I coach people on a weekly basis. Twice a week we go live. You can check it out at collegeofconfidence.com. But can I add one small story in that?
Yes, I love
visualizing
stories.
Because I think people going from 75 to 175 feels impossible.
Yes.
I need you to believe that impossible goals happen all the time. So you also have to go, who is it? There are people who are making that. They are no different than me. And then really imagine yourself there. And then, like you said, you start getting obsessed about the goal, and then you get creative about, how do I become the person that finds that? My 7-year-old is very into Legos and very, like I say, obsessed with the Titanic. Like, it's obsessed. So there's a Titanic Lego set for $700. I'm not buying it for him. He found out about this 8 months ago, and he has worked the boxes. I say this because it's sitting here. It just arrived. How is a 7-year-old going to make $700?
I have no idea.
He sold snow cones all summer.
Wow. He was that obsessed. He was that obsessed.
He was that obsessed. He's told everybody he knows about it. Now I did help him. I found it on stock, I don't know, some website for $100 off. So we saved him some money. He saved his birthday money. He didn't want anything for his birthday, but some money from people. He turned all toys for the 17,000 Lego set it's supposed to be for 18-year-olds. So the obsession came because he decided to believe. He doesn't know 7-year-olds don't get $700. Now, is $700 very accessible to me? I have $700 in my wallet right now, but I wanted to teach him to believe in an impossible goal. And the only reason he kept it front of mind is because he kept imagining it there. He had it, it's on our computer. He sees it. He imagines himself playing with it. He's told his teachers about it. He's told that he doesn't have it yet. He hadn't bought it yet. He didn't have enough money yet, but when he has it, he's going to take a picture and show it to them. And they were those encouraging voices that said, oh, I can't wait to see it.
And he sold snow cones.
He sold snow cones.
What?
Now,
what
we
a,
bought him
what
a
a
snow
great
cone
mom.
machine.
What a
we
great mom.
bought him a snow cone machine, but he paid me back. He had to invest in the business to do that. And I just wanted to point out, I don't care if it feels like doubling your income or being a kid who could earn that much money, or maybe, whatever your excuses are, we just have to be more imaginative. And remind ourselves, one of my favorite power phrases that I like to remind, I use and my students use, people like me do things like this. People like me. So if you're 75K in your business, in your workplace right now, people like me earn 170K. People like me do that all the time. Like whatever it is that you want to do, people like me easily do this. And I think you just start seeing yourself as that. I just had to add that because one, it's fun. I'm staring at the box out of the corner of my thing, and I cannot wait for him to get off the school bus.
It's today. Oh my God, today's the day.
It's here. It's here. He knew the UPS guy was coming today when he got on the bus.
Wow.
And I just go, people achieve their goals all the time, and we need to remind ourselves of that.
Oh, I'm so glad you told that story.
Yeah,
Trish, this has been such a pleasure. Thank you so much for bringing all of your energy and confidence.
My pleasure.
To
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me.
And y'all, thanks for listening. We'll see you next week.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode with Matt O'Neill.